Hi everyone, this is David. In this video we are going to set up a .NET development environment using NeoVim and the Windows terminal on a fresh installation of Windows 10 Professional. The only software that I've installed here is Karnak, which allows me to show the keys that I press on the screen. Let me just quickly show you the website. It's open source. Alright. Now, we are not going to be using Windows subsystem for Linux. We are just going to be developing directly on this machine. We are going to be using NeoVim instead of Vim. I saw this as an opportunity to learn something new, and also because I like the Lua programming language, which is now supported in the configuration files in NeoVim. For those of you who are new, who have never used Vim or NeoVim, those are customizable text editors that you can use from the command line. NeoVim is newer than Vim, of course, and it's also smaller. If we install all sorts of plugins, then it will start to become slow and bloated, and this will defeat the purpose of having a fast, lightweight editor. We want simplicity, usefulness, and speed. So I'm keeping those things in mind when I'm choosing the plugins that we're going to use for this video. Also, in my previous video, which I uploaded a couple of years ago, I added plugins for database development. But then after a while, I realized that I didn't use them much, and I just stuck with SQL Server Management Studio. So that's why we won't be installing plugins for database development in this video. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go to the folder options and check the checkbox for Show Hidden Files and Folders. So, folder options, view, show hidden files and folders, and uncheck the box for hide extensions for known file types. Check that checkbox, click OK. Now, Microsoft created a new program called winget, which is supposed to be their equivalent to the Linux way of installing programs through the terminal. So, for example, in Linux, in Debian-based systems like Ubuntu, you can write something. Let me just show Notepad. Sudo apt install git. That will get you git installed in Linux, in Debian Linux. And what Microsoft wanted to do is something like winget install git. Well, they already did that. So in newer versions of Windows and Windows 11, you can run that command. Unfortunately, at least for Windows 10, at the time I'm recording this video, this functionality is not there yet. Mainly because when you install a package like Vim or NeoVim, for example, you still have to manually add the location of the executable file to the path environment variable, which in my opinion is not useful enough. Therefore, for this video, I'm sticking with chocolatey. Speaking of chocolatey, I still had issues installing Windows Terminal through it. So in this video, I will install it from the releases page in the GitHub repo. So let me just show you that repo here. Let me show you that page. By the way, I'm going to be putting all these links in the description of the video. So we have the preview. We don't want it. We don't want previews. We want stable. This is the latest one, but it has a warning. Warning, there is a known issue in this release of Windows Terminal that may result in difficulty restoring the terminal window from a minimized state. Well, I want to be able to open things if I minimize them, so I probably won't install this one. That's a pre-release, so I don't want that. And this one seems to be pretty stable, so I'm going to install that one. I'm going to scroll down. I want to download Windows 10 pre-install kit. Alright, so I'm going to open the folder, unzip it. And the one that I want to double click on is the one with the extension MSIX bundle. Click on install. And now that it's installed, I'm going to add a shortcut, or let me see. I'm going to pin it to the start menu and also to the taskbar. Okay, so now we are going to tweak the look and feel of our terminal. We are going to partially follow this tutorial. Let me just open it up. Here they talk about installing a nerd font. Nerd fonts have additional characters, which are like symbols or emoticons, and they can be displayed in the terminal. Otherwise, the user will see some weird looking squares instead of the emoticons or smileys. Alright, so let's have a look at which nerd fonts you can choose. Let's open that in a new tab. And here you have a listing of nerd fonts available. The font I chose is Cascadia, because that's the only one in Visual Studio 2022, or at least is the most similar. I know that sounds boring, but that's the font I like for coding in C#. I like the familiarity of it. Alright, so I'm going to download it and install it. But before I download it, let me show you something. So, no, not that one. Right click, open a new tab. So, yeah, you can use this for checking, previewing the fonts, which I found pretty useful. Alright, so let's download Cascadia Cove Nerd Font. Oh, I already downloaded, okay. I thought I was downloading the wrong one. Alright, so let's unzip that, extract all, and I'm going to highlight all of them, right click, install. Alright, so now that we've installed the fonts, we need to close and reopen the terminal so that it can get those new fonts in the drop-down list, in the settings drop-down list. So I'm reopen the terminal, and now I press Control comma. Control comma to open the settings. I click on Windows PowerShell profile on the left here, and then defaults. Yeah, defaults, appearance, and then the font. Cascadia Cove Nerd Font, this one here. Now I'm going to increase the font size to 14 so that it's a little bit easier to read on the screen. Now I'm going to click on Save. Now let's install Chocolatey. Let me open that website. chocolatey.org. So Chocolatey, for those of you who have never used it before, it's a program that allows me to install other programs from the command line. Let's click on Get Started. Alright, so let's install Chocolatey using the individual method, which has already been selected for us. Notice how they recommend us to inspect the PowerShell file prior to running any of these scripts to ensure the safety. It says here, we already know it's safe, but you should verify the security and contents of any script from the internet you are not familiar with. This is particularly important if you're going to be doing this for your work computer, right? You could lose your job if you if you run the wrong script. So yeah, just check your scripts when you download them. Check anything that you get from the internet. Alright, so to install Chocolatey, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in my administrative PowerShell. So I need to right click on the icon, right click on terminal, run as an administrator, and then paste. See how they're talking about execution policy? What they are doing here is they're saying temporarily change the execution policy so that I can install the program. That's why it works. So I press enter. And now we can run the command choco to verify that it's been installed. So yes, chocolatey version 1. Alright, so let's get back to the tutorial. Now they are saying that we need to install a program called oh-my-posh for PowerShell, which we can do it by running choco install -y. I do -y because I've already ran through these, and at the recording of this video I'm happy to accept the licenses for these programs that I'm installing. So that's why I'm going to be putting -y so that I don't have to manually accept all those licenses. So choco install -y oh-my-posh, enter. Now let's open their website while this is installing. So oh-my-posh has a section for the themes. You can browse through them. You can choose the one that you like. I've already chose one which is called easy-term. So we're going to be using this one here. Alright. To do this, we need to do two things. The first one is we need to create a PowerShell profile. And then the second thing is we need to configure the theme that we want to use. So let's do that. So to create a PowerShell profile, we first need to make changes to the security policy of our terminal. Now, disclaimer, if you are following this video for your work computer, then please check with your system administrator if it's okay to change the execution policy as per what we are about to do next. And if you are doing this for your private computer, then maybe have a read through the different security policies that are available to choose from this page. I'm going to open it for you, and this link is going to be in the description as well. So here they talk about what is an execution policy, all sign, bypass, default, remote sign, and so on. So you can have a look at the repercussions if you're going to make changes to the security settings of your terminal in your computer. Alright, so to get the execution policy that we have at the moment, in admin PowerShell, I type in get dash execution policy. I'm going to press tab because that's another reason I like PowerShell in here in terminal, because I press tab and it just auto completes it for me, fixes the case and everything. Dash list, hit enter. So you can see that for the current user and for the local machine, it's set to undefined. So I need to change those two. I'm going to set them to remote signed. So I'm going to run set dash execution policy remote sign, and the scope is going to be local machine. Alright, so this error message says that you change it, but this is being overwritten by a more specific policy. So I'm gonna change the more specific one. The one that is talking about is current user. So I'm gonna press up, the key up, to bring up the last command that I ran, and then I'm gonna change this to current user. Enter, showing me the error again, but I know it's working because I practiced this already. So I'm going to ignore that error. And now what we need to do is we need to go back to the normal admin. sorry, the non-admin, the normal PowerShell. And we need to type in notepad and then $ profile in uppercase. Enter. Now, because we haven't created the PowerShell profile yet, it's going to show us a pop-up that says, do you want to create a new file? I'm going to say yes. Make sure you click yes. If you know Vim or NeoVim, then the PowerShell profile is like the equivalent of the vimrc file, but for your terminal. And if you don't know Vim or NeoVim, well, in that case, the PowerShell profile is like a configuration for your PowerShell commands. You can define your own methods, import libraries, and create your own custom functionality. And that's what I use on a daily basis at work. I use PowerShell profile every day for doing things like switching branches, cleaning, restoring NuGet packages, rebuilding, running unit and integration tests, doing a bunch of things locally without the need to open Visual Studio. So it's very powerful. All right. So, but right now we are going to use the PowerShell profile to activate our theme, the theme that we just installed, because we installed oh-my-posh, and we're going to make it to show that theme. So I need to type this command, oh-my-posh. All right. So I'm going to save that and close it. And now when we close and reopen the terminal, you'll see that the new theme will kick in. There. Now, regarding the background image, I came across, let me open it here. I came across this outer space photo taken by Tom Schneider. So I'm going to use it in the background for my terminal session for this video. So here we can see the license, which is Unsplash license, and we're basically allowed to show this image in this video and to use it. So I'm going to download it through this button, download free. I'm going to open the location. I'm going to drag that to my desktop, cut and paste on my desktop. And now I'm going to go back to PowerShell, and then I'm going to say Control comma so that I can see the settings. And then I go to Windows PowerShell, and then appearance, and then background image path. So I choose it from the desktop, and then I'm going to set the opacity because there are some white parts in that image that make it hard for me to read the white text of my terminal. So I'm going to set the opacity to 30%. Now, I always make this mistake. You see how we have background image opacity and background opacity? I always set the background opacity. I need to set the background image opacity. So let's not, all right, so 30% there. All right, so I'm going to save now. Now we can see the background. There's another thing that I want to install, which is a program called Bottom. So there's an activity monitor for Linux called Top or HTOP, and it allows me to see the system activity. It's kind of like a task manager, but for the terminal. So let's install that one. So I'm going to go to admin PowerShell. And yes, sorry, this is not directly related to NeoVim, but I think it's a cool program that people should be aware of. So choco install y bottom. Okay, let me see if I probably have to reopen PowerShell. So btm enter. Oh no, it's there already. Okay, cool. So yeah, memory, CPU usage, network usage, and so on. And to quit, I press Q. Another thing that I wanted to show you is that if I press Alt-Shift+, it opens a vertical split. If I do Alt-Shift-, it's going to do a horizontal split. So if I go to the left, make that 4. Now if I hold the Alt key, I can navigate between panes. Now if I type in BTM here, I can see, you know, the status of my computer while I'm doing other stuff in the other sections of the terminal. So I wanted to show you that. All right, exit. What else? All right, now let's install and configure NeoVim. Let's go back to the administrative PowerShell and do choco install -y NeoVim. Now while that's installing, so if you've never used Vim or NeoVim before, then let me quickly explain the following so that you can do the rest of the steps in this video. NeoVim has 3 modes: insert, replace, and normal. Insert mode is for inserting text as you type on the keyboard. Replace mode is for replacing existing text as you type on the keyboard. And the normal mode is for doing everything else, such as selecting text, searching for text, navigating, opening the help section, saving the file, closing the file, running the interactive tutorial, and running all sorts of additional commands and even your own custom-made commands. All right, so it installed. So let's go back to the normal PowerShell and type in NVim. NVim. Yeah, it doesn't know about it yet, so let me just close it and reopen it. NVim. All right. So I'm going to quickly show you. If I press I go in insert mode and I can start typing text. If I press escape, I go back into normal mode. If I press U, it's for undo while I'm in normal mode. If I press I again, I type in hello world, oops, and then press escape. Then if I wanted to quit, which is in normal mode, I do :Q, but I get an error because I've added text, so I need to save it, right? But if you really don't want to save it, if you just really want to quit, then you use the exclamation mark, which is like force quit. So you do Q and then exclamation mark to quit. If you wanted to create a new file, you can do like this: nvim and then hello.txt. Yeah, enter, and then in here I press I, hello world, press escape, and then I can do : to type in the command, and then I can say WQ, which will be write and then quit. Or you can type in X, which does the same thing. So I'm going to do that. Now if I do ls, it's going to show me the contents of the folder where I'm in, and you can see hello.txt at the bottom. In terminal, if you wanted to show the contents of a text file, you can say cat and then the name of the file. Or if you wanted to open the Windows Explorer at the current directory where you are in the command terminal, you can type in explorer and then dot. Dot means the current directory, or you can put another directory and it will open the window and take you there. So if I press enter, it shows this window. And here is the file, hello.txt. Now if I wanted to delete that file, I just go rm hello.txt. Now before we move on, I want you to open nvim and then do this command, : and then to tutor enter. This is like an interactive tutorial. Do this tutorial if you have never used it before. Do it, it takes about half an hour, and then come back to this video. That will help you to go through the rest of the steps. All right, let's move on now. So we need to set up a configuration file for NeoVim. So that's where we're going to specify the settings, custom commands, and the plugins that we want to install in NeoVim. Before, in Vim, we had a file called vimrc, which is using a programming language called VimScript. In NeoVim, we have a file called init.lua, which uses the Lua programming language. You can also do VimScript, by the way, it's backwards compatible. But let's go with Lua. So let's create a configuration file. So let's go to app data. So the app data local. And then in here, I'm going to create a new folder called NVim. Then I'm going to go into that folder. And then I'm going to create the new file, which is init.lua. So nvim init.lua. By the way, in Linux, I used to be able to do touch init.lua, but that doesn't work in PowerShell, unfortunately. So the way that I create a new file, a new empty file, is just by typing nvim, then init.lua, enter. So that's the file, it's an empty file. I'm gonna say write to disk, and then quit. Cool, so I got the file now, right there. Now, for installing plugins in NeoVim, we should use a package manager. There are many package managers available for this, but the one that I've chosen is called PIQ. Pack is a NeoVim package manager written in Lua. It's simple, it's easy to use, and so on. Requirements: Git. We need to have Git installed. So let's do that. We go to administrative PowerShell and then do choco install-y git. Now let's go back to the README file. The installation instructions for Windows says just run this command. So I'm going to copy that. Go back to the normal PowerShell. Now, does the normal PowerShell know about Git? Nope. So let's exit and reopen it again. Now I'm going to paste the code, hit enter. Now let's add some code to the Lua file. So let's edit that file. So nvim app data local nvim init.lua, enter. Now I've already prepared some code here that I'm gonna copy paste, and then I'll explain it to you. So this is Lua code, and it says, all right, I want to use the actual package manager. That's why I've got a reference. See, for example, this section here. This actually is part of the URL of their GitHub repo. So if I go to GitHub and if I wanted to install a plugin, I can get that part. So we're going to install Omnisharp, which is what we use for coding in C#. It's a plugin for NeoVim, and we are also going to use NERDTree. NERDTree is like a file explorer, file explorer. I want to show the line numbers, so that's what I've got here. I want to make sure that Omnisharp uses the current version of .NET. At the recording of this video is .NET 6. I don't want to wrap the text around. I want the text to continue off the screen to the right if it's a really long line. And I don't want to have a backup files, because sometimes NeoVim creates, well, actually I'm not 100% sure about NeoVim, but I do know that Vim creates backup files. Actually, I think NeoVim does it too. So yeah, no backup files, don't create any extra files for me while I'm editing a file. And I want to make sure that everything is in UTF-8, all the encodings. And then we have the ability to use existing vimrc code from within Lua. So Lua has this function called vim.cmd, and in there we can paste the vimrc code. So this vimrc code is for saying I want to show empty spaces. That's basically that line there. And I also want to do the indentation to be 4 spaces. So in C#, I normally do 4 spaces. In JavaScript, it's usually 2 spaces. So when we edit these, you probably see that there's JavaScript files with 2 spaces, and mine is going to be inserting 4 spaces, but yeah. You can tweak this. All right, so, and this section at the bottom here is for showing unwanted white spaces, and it's going to highlight them in red so that I can delete them before I commit them into Git, into the repository. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save and quit. So :x. Now what we need to do is we need to run a command inside NeoVim. So I'm going to open NeoVim again, nvim, and then I'm going to run : and then pack install, paq install, enter. So it installed 2 packages and there were no errors. All right. Now we need to install the .NET SDK. So let's go back. Oops. Let's go back to the administrator PowerShell and run choco install y .NET SDK. See, I can use BTM to see the activity, how much is being downloading, the CPU and all that. It's kind of like the Tmax, terminal multiplexer for Linux. All right, cool, so that's done. Now I need to install Omnisharp. So, oops. Choco install y Omnisharp. While Omnisharp is installing, check out their website. .NET. This is where I found the Vim plugin. But then they have Emacs, Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, Brackets, Atom, and so on. And it's cross-platform. Pretty cool. All right, done. So I'm gonna quit that, and then I'm gonna go back to the other one, the non-administrator PowerShell. Now I'm going to create a folder called React Demo. So I'm gonna say make directory React-demo. React Demo. Go into that folder. I'm going to type in .NET new. It doesn't know about it yet, so I need to reopen PowerShell. So let's open it again. .NET new, and it's going to say, okay, if you want to see all the installed templates, project templates, then run .NET new list. So .NET new -- list as shown here. Hit enter. Got a bunch of those here. So I'm going to choose the React one, which is somewhere here. There. So .NET new React. Right. So now I'm going to open. So if I explore show the contents of the folder, you can see that it created a program.cs file. So if I do nvim program.cs and I press enter, for the first time, it's going to ask me, do you want to install the Omnisharp server. Make sure you press yes. Press enter to continue. Now we have the C# file here. Now at the bottom you see that it says loaded server, as in the Omnisharp server for this file. Now we currently don't have any autocomplete functionality. So like for example, it won't autocomplete anything for me. And also if I type gibberish, it won't tell me that there is a problem. We'll do that, we'll set that up in a moment. So now let me show you NERDTree. So if I do NERDTree like that, uppercase NERDT and then RE in lowercase, it shows me this, which is the explorer. And for example, if I select, and you can choose the files by using the arrow keys up and down. If you press T, it's going to open that in a new file, in a new tab, sorry. And then I can navigate through tabs by pressing GT. That will be the next tab. And if I wanted to go to the previous tab, I use uppercase T, GT, like that. So if I open multiple files, go to the previous one, you can see the tabs at the top being highlighted. Alright, I digress. Let's close everything by pressing QA. That will close all the buffers. As you saw, there was no error checking for the file. So what we need to do is we need to install a plugin which is called ALE, which stands for Asynchronous Lint Engine. So let me show you the website. Now what I'm going to be installing here is the bare minimum. There's a lot of functionality that you can add, shortcuts, key shortcuts. Yeah, but I'll leave that up to you to add more power to it your own way, to customize it your way. So that's the README file. And to install it, we just need to put an extra line in the init.lua file. So let's go back to the init.lua. Let me see if it's there. So NVim. Oh wait. Let's actually need to go to the parent folder. So parent folder, app data, local, init.lua. And then I go here and I paste that. For the new plugin, notice how we have some unwanted empty space here in red, so I'll delete that. And then I'm going to save and close. Alright, so I've added the plugin. Now I'm going to install it. So I need to open NeoVim again, NVim, and then I need to run back install, enter. Now that it's been installed, I'm going to open the program file, the C# file, and if I start typing gibberish, it will start to complain. And you can see the error message there at the bottom. Alright, cool. Now let's exit. Now another thing is that I don't want to have to type NERDTree, the whole word, all the time whenever I want to show the NERDTree. So what I'm going to do is I want to add a command, which is instead of running NERDTree, I run NT. So let me show you that. So in here, at the bottom, I'm going to say Vim cmd single quote and then say command nt. So it's basically what this means is whenever I type nt, run NERDTree. Now exit. So now nvim, and if I do nt, I can see NERDTree popping up. I like NERDTree because I can use it to explore the contents of a solution. However, when it comes to looking for files by name, you can only do it based on the files that are currently displayed on NERDTree on the screen. But it won't look for files that are inside folders that I haven't expanded yet, or files and folders that are at the bottom of the tree which are not visible on the screen. Therefore, we'll install the following programs and plugins. So the first program that we need to install is called Ripgrep. So let's go to admin PowerShell and then choco install -y Ripgrep. While that's installing, I'll show you the README. That's Ripgrep. Burn sushi, Ripgrep. And it's a search tool. Now we need to add the plugin, so that the wrapper for, so we need to add the NeoVim plugin that uses this new tool that we just installed. So yeah, install successfully. Now let's configure NeoVim. So nvim lua and add it here. Ripgrep. Save. We also need another plugin which is called Telescope, which is a very cool plugin. I like it. It's very useful. Let me show you. So that's the README, and to install it we just need to add their plugin reference in the init.lua file. So let's go back. And so with those two plugins, I can search for files based on their name, but I can also search for files based on their content. So I'm gonna add more commands here. So vim cmd, I'm gonna say command fn. That means I'm going to search by name. So fn, file by name. That's just me making up this command. You can put whatever name you like. So it's going to run telescope find files. So when I type in fn, it's going to run telescope find files. And then if I type in vim cmd command ft, so file by find by text, it's going to run live grep, live grep, and I'll do a quick demo on that. So I'm going to save and close, then reopen NVim, NeoVim. I'm going to run pack install. It installed two of them. There were no errors. And now I'm going to do something else, which is check health telescope. Enter. Error. Check, if I can spell it, telescope. No, what's happening? Maybe I need to install it first. Nothing to install. Oh, right. I forgot to add the plugin reference for Telescope. I've added plenary, which is a prerequisite. Let's go to the NeoVim file. Yeah, I added a prerequisite, plenary, but I didn't add Telescope. So I'm going to add it. Now this one is a requirement that it's pointing to a branch called 0.1.x. So the format is like that. Put the location and the branch name. Now I can install it. So save and quit, NVim, plug install, what? Ah, sorry. That's another package manager. All right. All right, so it installed it. Now I can check the health. Damn, okay. So check health telescope, enter. Okay. So it's telling me that the prerequisite plenary is installed, and it also has Ripgrep, the program that we installed through Chocolatey. It's giving me a warning that I don't have this other plugin and this other program, but I don't need them. I mean, seems to be working fine for me because I have other tools for that. So all good. I can ignore that for now. What I need to do is I need to show you how it works. So if I type in, if I run NeoVim now, where am I? Yeah, in the React demo. So Vim. So let's look for let's run FT first, which is, no, FN. So FN, which is find by file name. Now I'm gonna search, for example, program. So it's gonna show me program.cs. Index, and it shows me a preview on the right. So that's searching for file by name. Now if I do it for the content of the file, so it's ft, enter, I can say console, maybe, dot, no, there's no console right line, maybe static references, static read only, no, maybe string, yeah, all right, so you get the, cool. So we don't have any autocomplete functionality yet, so let's install a plugin for that. We are going to use something called asyncomplete. Let me show you the website real quick. Now the reason I'm showing you this on the screen is because I want you to keep in mind that you will need to do further tweaking. You will need to do extra work to get it to work because it's a little bit clunky when I use it. Yeah. So this one, asyncomplete, right? So you can customize all this, how you want to trigger complete. Currently it's using the tab, but you can make it like control dot, for example, or control space or whatever. All right, so I'm going to add that reference to the plugin, to the init.lua file in the, yeah, here. And then I'm going to run pack install. All right, so now if I were to open a C# file, I can say, I don't know, I mean, app dot, and I can do whatever I want. So that's the autocomplete. The tab, yeah, see, bit clunky for me. Like I want something, enter, there we go, enter. So for CSS and JavaScript, TypeScript, JSX files is tab, but for C# files is enter. So, you know, if you wanted to have some consistency, then I encourage you to spend some time getting familiar with the configuration files and tweaking them so that we have consistency across all of them. I didn't have enough time to set that up for you, but I think it's a good homework for you to have. All right, so now if, let's say I've added a new file, and then I say, a new file, sorry, a new line, like some new line here, and I save, I want a plugin that shows me on the left whether I added a new file, I changed, sorry, a new line, whether I added a new line, edited the line, or deleted it. So we're going to install a plugin for that. So let me just undo that. Okay. So the plugin that I'm going to use is called Vim Signify. Let me show you the README file for that. Now again, these are all highly customizable. I want to make it so that it uses the same shortcuts as Visual Studio. So if I have some time, I'll do that. Yeah, Signify, it shows the differences, the changes that you've made in Git. So let's put that in the vimrc file. So not here, that one. So now if I go to open the program file or whatever file, and I go and then I can save. Why is it not showing up? I just added it. Oh, right. This is not a Git repository. Okay. So let's do that. Okay, so git init. See, I knew you guys were gonna see me trip over. So now I initialize the Git repository. Now git add all. Yeah, even the pdb and bin files, I don't care. Just add everything. And then git commit. I need to configure Git, so I'm just gonna do that. Then git config global name, I'll just call it David. Alright, now git commit initial commit. There we go. Now when we go back to the file that I'm after, add a new line. Oops. And I click on save. I save it. Come on. There we go. So now it's showing me the lines that I've updated. If I delete a bunch of lines here, it should show me. If I save, there we go. It's showing me lines that I deleted. If I edit it, save, it's telling me what changed, what lines changed. All right, let's undo all this. Now, what else? Okay, the next step is to configure JavaScript, JSX, and CSS auto-completion and validation. So for that, we are going to use Typescript. I know, right? Relevant. Actually, no. In the documentation in one of the plugins, it says, "Oh yeah, when you install Typescript, it sort of uses that, and you don't have to do any additional configuration," which is great. So let's install Typescript. So choco install -y Typescript. Enter. Okay. Ooh, this is a warning, not an error. Why is it in red? New version. This is okay. Right. Do I want to update this? Nah, it's alright. Cool. So now we need to install a plugin called Conquer of Completion. Let me show you the README file. It's very popular, very powerful. And again, I highly encourage you to come back and tweak it to your own liking. See, they're giving you examples here. Very powerful. I want to make mine behave like Visual Studio. I don't want to learn new shortcuts. I just want to make it so that when I do all the shortcuts in Visual Studio, it behaves the same in NeoVim. So I'll do that later when I have time, if I have time. All right. So to install this plugin, we need to make sure that we set the branch as the release branch. So let me add that to the vimrc file. Nope. There. All right. And then I'm run pack install. So no, it's not executable. What do you mean? All right, let's upgrade Node. It's probably because this session of PowerShell doesn't know about Node.js yet. So I probably won't get that error if I... Let me try. Open it again. All right, it's a different error now. Build index.js not found. Please install dependencies. Okay, so what happens is that, I'll show you. Let me maximize this. When I install the release branch for Conquer of Completion, normally the release branch has this compiled, but in this case it doesn't. So let's compile it manually. So while we are at it, let's just update this. Let me see. Run npm install g blah blah to update. So I'm gonna do that here. Let's update npm. Now let's install. Wait. So now we need to find where that package was installed. So let's install yarn because the error message was telling us about yarn. So it says yarn install here on the right, on the bottom. So let's do that. So npm install globally, global yarn, enter. Now the location of this plugin is here. So cd app data local and vim data. That's there. Vim data site pack paqs packs start, and then here we have the plugin. So we go to coc and vim. Yeah, so that's where Conquer of Completion for NeoVim has been installed, in this path. And now what I need to do is I need to run yarn install. All right, now let's go back to the home directory. And now let's run NeoVim again. We don't get that error anymore, but it's telling us that it created a folder in there called coc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the pack install again. Nothing to install. Okay, so that installed at least. Okay, cool. So now I need to run a command, which is coc install. Okay. We are going to do for CSS, so that's coc-css space. We're going to do it for JSON, coc-json, coc tss server, so TypeScript server, which includes TypeScript, JavaScript, and JSX files, and also HTML. So coc, no, it doesn't include HTML, that's a separate one. coc HTML, enter. So this one is going to set up auto completion for all of these guys, but now we need to add some additional functionality for the CSS auto completion part. So nvim, so app data local nvim init.lua. Let's open that file and then let's copy paste this command, this text. Right here at the bottom. So conquer of completion CSS, use tab for triggering completion. Now it looks really nice actually. I probably should do the same thing for the other ones, but I'm too lazy. I'll do it later. But yeah, it'd be nice to have this functionality to make it more consistent. So with JavaScript. Anyway, I'll show you in a moment. So let's quit. Actually, no, save and quit. Now if I do, so where is that folder? CD, where is, oh yeah, React demo. And then NeoVim, show NERDTree. So let's open CSS. Actually, you know what? Let's do file by name, find by name, .css. All right. Now, I can press enter and it will replace the current buffer with the file that I've selected, or I can press Ctrl T and it will open it in a new tab. So I'm going to do Ctrl T. Ctrl T. There's the tab. So, I don't know. Let's say background color. See? Let's try with tab. Background color. No. Alright, see how it's, I have to select the previous item. See, if I wanted to show background color, I have to highlight background and then press tab, and then it uses background color. If I wanted to show BTN primary, I have to highlight background color and then press tab. Yes, it's a bit, yeah, so I need to, you know, tweak this, but it's working for CSS. Now let's do JavaScript. So client app, source app.js. I don't know, no idea. Const name equals John. Name. All right, so it's sort of okay. Oh, here we go again. Name. No. Dot. Anyway, that's homework for you. You wanted to change the color. See that red? I can't read that red text. So go through the plugins and make them so that they behave the way you want them to. And I don't want to change any text, so I'm gonna say quit force. Cool. So let's actually compile and run the web application. So let's run .NET build. .NET run. Alright, so now I'm gonna control click this one here, localhost 7059. Because it's HTTPS, it's probably using a self-signed certificate, so continue. Launching single page application proxy, allow Node.js to go through the firewall. Hello world. Cool. This is for a project that was created through .NET New in .NET Framework 6. But what about existing projects that are on older versions of .NET? Let's say, alright, let's do that. So Control C to stop this. Now I have a project that I created called my legacy solution, and it's a WinForms application built in .NET 4.72. So I'll copy paste it on the desktop. I'm going to close these PowerShell windows. I don't need them anymore. So this is the solution. This is the solution file. It has a project, which is the WinForms project. I couldn't even be bothered changing the form name. See form1.cs. Anyway, so I'm going to right click, open in terminal. So it's going to open terminal in that location. And I'm going to run .NET build, see what happens. It'll blow up. That's because you don't have the older .NET framework installed. Now, if you are dealing with an existing application with an older version of .NET framework, then chances are that 99.999% of the time you already have Visual Studio installed. So let's install Visual Studio 2022. And I'm going to install the desktop development workflow so that we can open it in, just close this. Studio. Microsoft Visual Studio. I want the community version. Double click. And I'm going to choose .NET Desktop Development Workflow. And you see it's already installing .NET Framework 4.72, which is going to match what we need. So I'm going to click on Install. Alright, so we'll skip this for now. Dark, General, Start Visual Studio. I forgot to show it, but if you didn't have Visual Studio installed, or actually I might have shown that already. Like if I go to, no, I don't think I showed that. So if I go to the program file, for example, before installing Visual Studio, this wasn't working that well. Like the autocompletes were actually based on the content that was already on the screen. It was not actually related to the .NET framework and the context of the application. But now it's working a lot better. And you can see that you have some documentation on the right. So installing Visual Studio definitely helps. Maybe because it comes with the .NET framework, SDK 4.72, or I don't know. But yeah. So this works faster and it works a lot better now. And it tells you what it does. Again, I get mixed up between Enter and Tab. I need to use this more often. And it's giving me warnings like, remove unnecessary using directives. And if you go to the Omnisharp plugin and Vim plugin, it will show you examples of how you can customize shortcuts. So here what I want to do is what you could do, homework for you, is to say, all right, when I press Control dot, for example, and Enter, I want to perform the actions or show me a drop down or whatever, like for example, when it comes to deleting those lines that are not necessary. Yeah. And there is also code snippets that you can get if you wanted to do some custom snippets for JavaScript, CSS, and even C#. So yeah, there's a lot of investigation that you can do, a lot of enhancements. Obviously, this video is targeted at people who want to use NeoVim quickly and being able to do many things without having to load up all of Visual Studio. But then there's also people who like to get into the nitty-gritty of things and look further into that. So yeah, if you are into that, by all means. All right, cool. Now before, I used to put a lot of commands in my lua.init file. so that I can execute those commands from within NeoVim. But I've realized that it's better to actually do those commands from PowerShell itself rather than having to do all that from within NeoVim. So we are going to enhance our PowerShell profile so that we can compile, build, clean, and run just from the command line. So let's do that. So let me see, quit. Now let's open the PowerShell profile. So let's go to users, David, documents, and then Windows PowerShell. That's the PowerShell profile. Right click, edit. Now, what I've done here, for example, what I do at work is I have a command that when I type, when I open the PowerShell profile, when I open the PowerShell, I want it to take me to the solution folder immediately. I don't want to navigate into it, yeah? Because by default, it takes you to the home screen, which is this location here. So I want it so that whenever I open it, I want to go directly to where the project I'm working on is located, yeah? So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go, in my case, is this path. And then I save it. And then the next time I open, it's going to take me to that folder. Yeah? Now let's say I wanted to compile. So as I told you before, this is not a .NET Framework 6 application. This is a 4.72, so you actually need to use MS Build. MS Build comes as part of the installation of Visual Studio. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to compile the application when I press F1. So if I go F1, enter, I want it to compile the app. Yeah. So let's do that in PowerShell profile. So here I'm going to say function, F1, and then put curly brackets, and then I'm going to say I want to execute this command. I want to execute MS Build, and I want to pass it some parameters. So let's find MS Build. So since C, program files, Microsoft Visual Studio 2022, community, obviously professional if you have professional or enterprise, MS Build, current bin, and then msbuild.exe, which is somewhere here. There. So I'm going to copy that path. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to say I want to run MS Build. It should be like that, msbuild.exe. Yeah, msbuild, okay. And I want to use all the CPUs available for my processor. So max CPU count. So because I can specify if I only want to use one core, then I put 1. If I use 2 or 3, if I want all of them, then I don't pass anything, and it will do all of them by default. Now, because when I run PowerShell, by default, I am at this location, right? That means that I don't need to put the whole path. I just need to put the name of the file, which is my legacy solution.sln. Yeah. So I put that here, and I click on save. So now when I do F1, it's going to build. Let's see if that actually works. Oh, need to close and reopen PowerShell. F1, enter. All right, so that's compiling. Now let's do the same thing, but I only want to use one core. Now the reason is because sometimes I use Git workspaces. Git workspaces allows you to have to work on multiple branches at the same time. It actually creates multiple folders. And so what I've done is there are times when I need to run unit and integration tests on multiple branches, and I want to do that at the same time. So what I do is I use Git workspaces to have multiple branches, and then I use the single core command so that I can run them all at the same time. If I run, otherwise the computer will be too busy, and I need to do other things, like I need to be able to browse the internet or read my email. And if I do multiple and all of them are using all the cores, my computer is going to be almost unresponsive. So let's copy this one, and then I do _1, and I want to do it for just one CPU. Save that. So then when I do here is F1, I have to close that. That's the only problem, is like I have to open and close. Please let me know in the comments if I can actually do it in a better way without having to reload this. There was another command that I found in Stack Overflow for refreshing it. It didn't actually refresh it for me. So anyway, yeah, F1 _1. Right, so it's a single core, so a little bit slower. Now, so we did that for building. Now, what about cleaning? I wanted to clean the solution, right? I can actually copy this one. So I'm going to call this one F2 for cleaning. So I'm still using MS Build, but I want to do this operation, which is I'll just wait for that. Okay, task clean, and I'm gonna do that for single core as well. Max CPU count 1. So then, oh wait, save. F2 single core, and then what I can do is I can say clean semicolon compile, and then I can do F5 for running, but I don't have F5 yet, so yeah, so clean compile. Now let's do run it. So for that one I need to go to Explorer, current folder, I need to go to the project, bin, debug. You guys are going to be amazed by how cool this legacy project is. So let's go here, function F5, and the reason I call it F1, F2, F3, F5 is because when I had this set up in Vim, I just press F1 and it will compile the project, F2 compile. But then I started to get into more complex things. Like I said, I wanted to do multiple things in one go, and I wanted to even put Git commands as part of it. And so that's why I decided to just, yeah, do it this way. So F5, so now for this one, I need to run that executable file. So now, what's the name of the file? So now I don't need this part because I'm already at the repo folder, so I only need this. Now save that and then close it, open it, So I'm gonna say I want to clean, then compile, then run it. Ta-da! How cool is that? How cool is this user interface? Check that out. Anyway. And then you have also for closing, if you wanted to kill the process as well. Sometimes we have applications that when you close them, they are actually not closed properly. Or you need to restore NuGet packages. And the same thing can be said for running unit tests. If you have a unit test project in your legacy solution, then you can use MS Build for that as well. Actually, no. That one is not using the MS Build. That will be using Visual Studio Test.console. Anyway. And you can also do it for, let's go to the Windows services. Let's say, I don't know, let's say Bluetooth. What's the file name? No. Bluetooth support service. Properties. The name is this one, copy. So then in here you can say function Bluetooth. Look, I don't even know what that service does. I'm just gonna assume that it starts something for Bluetooth. So I say start service name, and then I put here that's the name. So when I look at the properties of that service, the bit that is all automatically highlighted by me, but highlighted for me, that's the name. So I can just copy it. So I use this because sometimes I do performance profiling on IIS applications, and sometimes when I do the profiling and stop the profiling, a bunch of stuff gets turned off as well that I didn't want turned off. So I have a bunch of services that I want to run. So I just run one command in PowerShell, and it just runs all the services that I need to run. So if I do it now, I don't think this is going to work in normal PowerShell. I think I need to be on admin. So, that name is too long. SBT. So, let me see. SBT. No, you cannot do that. So let's do it in admin. SBT. There. So now if I have a look at the service, what was it? That one. If I refresh, now it's running. So yeah, I find that and for Git, you can put Git commands in here as well, like dev whatever function dev. You can say git checkout dev or whatever. So yeah, all right, cool. That's it. That's the end of this video. Hope you have fun testing these things out. Thanks.